Hello and a warm welcome to this special episode of Pivot Point with myself, Gugulethu Cele, an exciting new feature that we bring for you here on Kaya Biz, where we speak to influential leaders within the South African business space to get their views on pivotal moments in their lives that actually change the trajectory and direction of their destiny. Today we're joined by a phenomenal woman, one who I admire quite a bit too. She has a medical background, she's moved into business and has clearly established herself now as an author. So much so of this phenomenal book entitled Same But Different, Equal But Different. Joining me now is Dr. Judy Dlamini, who's the chair of Mbekani Investments. Such a pleasure to have you with us today.
Oh, it's so good to be here. Thanks for having me.
I'm actually excited because when I started my financial journalism career, you were always highlighted as one of those phenomenal women to look out for. And being a black female who's achieved so much.
That's so kind.
Definitely, you've actually helped in molding who I am today.
Oh, wow. Gugu. I didn't expect that, I must be honest.
It's very genuine, so I don't take this fantastic gift for granted, actually.
Wow. Thank you. Thank you so much.
But let's get into the conversation and painting a broad background. Many people are familiar with you, the positions that you've held as a board member of JSE listed entities, being a successful wife to a successful man as well, Sizwe Nqasana. But I want us to actually paint a picture of your background and how it almost seems as though you've always known what it is you want to do in life. At the age of 4, you knew you wanted to be a medical doctor?
I did. I always say I was a boring 4-year-old. Actually, I was just a boring person because I've always wanted, I knew what I wanted to be. I've always been very ambitious, very focused, which actually I thought it was normal till I actually did that research for my doctoral thesis, where I spoke to quite a few women. And I actually thought they would say, yeah, I knew when I was 5, this is what I want to be. And they said, no. You know, I'm like, oh, okay, so it's not normal, you know.
Not at all. Yeah. I think I changed career guidelines more than 4 times.
Yeah, well, I've changed careers too, but each change has been informed by something, you know, and the ambition has sustained me to actually say, okay, let me change direction because I've actually hit a roadblock or something. So, yeah.
What informed the decision then to move into medicine, given that you went to Marion Hill High School, I understand later on moved on to Vryheid, and found love and education at the same time?
I did. Yeah, I found love and education at medical school. I got married and also got our child. So I like doing these different things at the same time, like most women actually, you know. That's how women handle things. They juggle so many balls, and obviously the main thing is that you don't want to drop the important balls. In terms of the age of 4, there are only 2 things that I can recall that would have had an impact on why I wanted to be a doctor. It's my half-sister who was a professional nurse and an accomplished one. And she used to talk about the doctor, the matron, and in my view, the stories reflected on a doctor having the final word, taking the decisions. I love taking decisions. I like owning my decisions, and I love having the final word. And I guess that's what was attractive, obviously at the age of 4. But I think the reinforcement of that idea was when my dad wasn't well. And at 4 I had to start school because my mother was a primary school teacher. And the lady that used to take care of us worked out on her, so she had to take me to school with her. The objective was that I'll just play with other kids so that, you know, she continues to work. But I took interest in studying, and that's how, you know, I started school early. So this time, my dad wasn't well, so my mother said, no, you'll just remain home and watch out for the doctor that will come and see your dad and make sure your dad is fine. So this guy comes, it's Dr. Kabashe. This time we're in Westville, and Dr. Kabashe was based in Claremont, which wasn't far from Westville. And I just was impressed with this well-dressed guy, articulate, beautiful car, he knew his story, he helped my dad, and I was like, I want to be this guy, you know? And you can imagine during those days, it was the dark days of apartheid. People in the suburbs were domestic workers or gardeners, but for some reason, I just didn't see myself as one of them. And I always ask myself now, because it was a man, why, I guess at 4 you don't differentiate the gender. I saw myself in him, though he was a man, you know? So I guess being ambitious.
Which is a positive.
It's a positive.
It is a positive, and it almost sounds as though it also has to do a lot with your mindset, because fast track a few years later, you ran your own private practice, got a little bit bored of medicine, and then decided to venture into getting your MBA.
Yes.
What motivated that?
You know, I'm very inclined towards education. I think education is everything. It liberates you, it opens doors for you. So when I lost the passion of the only thing I was qualified to do, I had to go back to school. It was really a matter of, what do I do? Do I do an MBA? I was already in business in a way that my husband and I had a bakery next to my practice. And I had also started dabbling in the JSE, investing in shares. I did some course that was offered by one stockbroker. So I was already inclined towards that. And I had started a women's group called Gusa Women Consortium. And that exposed quite a few gaps in my knowledge in terms of business. And I thought, you know, every gap can be filled with just knowledge. So I was like, okay, I'll go full time and do an MBA. And I'm so grateful I did.
But that's a bold move, though, because someone with a doctorate, highly educated and well qualified, so often there's this fearful element to actually step back, get some knowledge, and then proceed going forward in a new direction. And that's quite a bold way of thinking. Has that always been something instilled in you?
Yes, it has. It has. I think I got it from my parents, because they instilled in us that you can be anything you choose to be, and you just have to work hard. My parents both worked very hard, and they gave you this confidence. I'm not a confident person per se, which maybe is a weakness that is a strength, in that if you're not a confident person, you actually have to do that much more just to be okay in your mind, you know? So I think it's a weakness that has assisted me, because I've studied and studied, and I continue to study because I'm looking for that thing that I believe I'm lacking.
Indeed. But life hasn't always been this perfect and smooth sailing.
It was never perfect.
Never perfect.
No.
But you still linger on nonetheless and continue to sustain yourself. And I want to touch on the element regarding family, because you've been through various business ventures where you tried to establish something. And from a family perspective, I know you lost your son, Usfiso, even though his legacy lives on today in a new fashion and a new light. But how did his passing actually influence your direction and your view on life going forward?
It was one of the most painful things that any person can go through, actually. And it's just one of those pains that you take to the grave with you. But what it said to me is that life is short. Like, I'm a very shy person. And I think one of the things about being shy is that you always worried that you're going to lose something. And when I lost my son, it was like, what more can I lose, you know? And I then felt that life is short. What can I do that will change the other person's life in the short space of time that I have? So I used to shy away from public speaking because I'm extremely shy. I used to get panic attacks at school when they would say, okay, Judy, you got these sums right. Just come to the board and explain to other kids. Oh my goodness, I would start sweating.
Oh, wow.
So it was quite bad. So I think that's one thing that happened when I lost Fiso, because it was like, I really have lost it all. That was the feeling I had. And then you say, okay, in the time that I have, what change can I actually have on other people's lives so that it's better? So yeah, it did change the way I look at life.
And so much so, like you say, that you've moved it into another passion of yours. You've always loved education, and now you're passing it forward. Talk to us about this Fiso Learning Center, the education group that yourself and your husband are looking to establish and really touch many South Africans' lives in a different light.
Yeah, as you know, Sizwe was with First Rand group till 2015. And we actually did research into the education space. Sizwe has always been involved in education, directly and indirectly. He was a lecturer, actually, when we were still very young. When he came out into practice as an accountant, he also used to lecture part-time. So, and then we used to support schools as a form of CSI as a family. So we both have been involved at different levels, you know, for as long as I can remember. So we did research for about 2 years, looking at the best model that would actually empower African kids, and by African I mean kids in the continent of whatever color, actually giving them thinking tools, because we feel the education that we went through, obviously, I'm not even sure I want to call it education because of how inferior it was. But even when it comes to what is supposed to be quality education in the private schools, it's not all of them that actually empower kids to actually have the thinking tools, to research, to actually project-based learning is what we came up with from the research. We went through to different continents in the world. And then Sizwe is running with that. It's called Sifiso Learning Group. And within Sifiso Learning Group, you've got Future Nation Schools and so many other companies within that actually have the objective of ensuring that we actually offer proud African leaders that actually can think and they're innovating.
I want us to tie this into the book and the title, and we'll move into the picture in just a moment, the wonderful story that you explained to me just a moment ago. But equal but different.
Yes.
And tying it back to the education system in South Africa, given the economic backdrop that we come from, where transformation is quite key, not something very similar to what we see across the continent with our peers, inequality is still something of significance. Tied back to the title, Equal but Different, how young girls and young boys can actually see themselves as peers within the innovation as well as education space in South Africa and across the continent.
Exactly. The motivation for me is because I grew up in an area where I used to, as a kid, you never understand that you're different. I had this anger because I could see that my white peers had so much better. And it used to make me angry because I felt I was equal to them. I was just different, but equal. And I truly believe in that. That drives me because I truly believe that if people are born equal, just different. And those differences are a strength, depending on how you use those. And I think one of the things that is important to us as a family is empowering different kids, boys and girls, through education. Because I think no one can touch you if you have quality education. Yeah.
It's one of those things that people can't take away from you. The possessions can go, but your education...
you own that.
Precisely.
You own that, yeah.
What about the role that your daughter plays in this book? She clearly looks a lot like you. Clearly is inspired by you. We won't agree?
It's 50-50, I think.
Okay, well, the angle that we've got, I think she looks quite a bit like you.
That was deliberate. You know, it's the baton that I'm passing. When I decided to write the book, I wanted to reach people that I would never meet because you find that there are few women, especially my age, that actually have delved into business and have learned so much in business. So you find so many young people that are looking for mentors, and it actually hurts me when I have to turn them down because there are so many hours in a day and we're chasing so many things that you actually have to make sure we do well. So I thought, what a way to reach so many people by putting down the life stories of so many different women and men, because by reading through the life stories you learn so much. Just me interviewing the women, I actually got to understand some of the decisions that I took. It gave me a perspective and also just reflection to say, oh wow, it was so empowering. And I think and believe and hope that someone who reads that book will find something that resonates with him or her, and it really is for boys and girls. Not just girls.
So seeing appropriate transformation throughout both genders and throughout all races, which is quite necessary. I want us to wrap it up by getting a more personal perspective from you. When the accolades are gone, when the TV screens are gone, when the radio mics have disappeared, and it's just you and your conscience, what is the one impact you hope that you have on the world and the people that you meet?
The people that I touch closely, I hope they will say, she empowered me. I hope they will say she was authentic, she was true to who she was, and I learned something from her, no matter how small.
Fantastic. Empowerment, authenticity, as well as lessons learned. That's a phenomenal conversation as we wrap it up here on Pivot Point on Kaya FM with Dr. Judy Dlamini of Mbekani Group on her new book, Equal but Different.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thanks. Yeah.
I enjoyed that.
Thanks. I also enjoyed it.